This is the Welcome to Humanity podcast with thought leader and transformative psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Moss. This show focuses on the betterment of humanity on a global scale. Each episode will leave you enlightened, inspired, and ready to make an impact in your world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your life. Welcome to humanity. Here's Dr. Fred.
Gosh, it was my honor and privilege to have today's guest, and that is my good friend and my colleague, my mentor, my teacher, my disciple, my student, my main bro, Sanyika, the Firestarter Street. Thanks for being here, Sanyika.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. What's up, Global Madness family?
It's really, really great to have you here. So I'm going to give a brief introduction that's a little different than what Sanyika gave me because I have my own personal introduction of who Sanyika is.
Cool.
So a little bit of who Sanyika is. Sanyika was here when this whole Global Madness concept took a stride forward and is really instrumental in having it take a stride towards reality. And so where we were when we were developing the brand of Global Madness was that it needed a spark. We were really conceptual and we were really creative and we really had a major vision. And we didn't have the spark to launch it into real reality. And so I know Sanyika Street over the last almost 2 years from an organization that we're both in, a forward group of men who are up to really making a big difference in the world down here in Los Angeles called Metal. And I saw Sanyika one day. It's hard not to see Sanyika. He's a pretty big fella, and I saw him over there. And then we got to be close friends over time. And then Sanyika and I started working together on many things, including the creation of this Global Madness project. And Global Madness really just is an entity that is committed to altering or transforming the conversation or the the idea of what mental illness and mental health is on a global scale. And Sanyika worked with me closely, sometimes daily, right, Sanyika? We had daily calls for a little while.
Yeah.
We were really, really looking at how to make this thing rock. And as the Firestarter, which Sanyika calls himself here, he was really able to move this thing and be a really big part of the fact that I'm even here with any of you on this podcast. So I'm really, really grateful for Sanyika Street to be in my life and just wonderful to have you on this conversation. So before we dive into today's conversation with my good friend Sanyika Street, I just want to take a minute to let you know that I just finished putting together the audiobook version of my very fun book that's soon to be released called The Creative 8. This book teaches a surprisingly simple method for healing that utilizes creativity and self-expression as its primary modalities. As a listener to the Welcome to Humanity podcast, I want to give you a completely free edition of the audiobook as a deep thank you for listening to the show. And all you need to do to go get it is go to welcometohumanity.net/creative. I've used this creative aid method for psychiatric patients, coaching clients, and even most recently for my friends. And it's just been working with fantastic results. And the coolest thing is it takes barely any effort. It's totally fun. And it lasts less than 5 minutes per day to implement. No kidding. I know you're going to love it. Go ahead and download it. Go to welcometohumanity.net/creative and bring it down. Take a look. Now, let's get back to our conversation with Sanyika Street.
I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be present, and I appreciate that intro. It is, the way that you and I came into contact was really profound because it was more like a divine assignment. It was like one of those opportunities that where we got a chance to see each other and how we show up in the world and to see how we can help to grow each other and to move into the next level. So I'm grateful that we met as well. And I am really, really excited about the next evolution of you and the next evolution of me and how those two things intertwine moving forward.
Yeah, perfect. Today we have Sanyika Street here to talk a little bit about things that really matter to him. And I'm telling you that if something matters to him, it probably should or already matters to you. So Sanyika, first of all, what's going on? It's really great to have you on the call.
Awesome.
Really, what are you up to? What matters to you? What's happening?
The things that have really been occupying the majority of my time are, I'm a speaker and a coach, and the majority of the work that I do during the day is helping people to perform at their optimal level, right? Helping people to really achieve their greatest level of what I call their highest level of contribution to themselves, to their families, and to their communities. And by virtue of that contribution, then it obviously impacts the world. And so, so for me, I've really been deeply entrenched in what makes and why people feel stuck in their lives. What makes them feel stuck, and what motivates them to move forward. And it's interesting because sometimes there are these things that that look like we're having this conversation about global madness and mental health, and there's a conversation around what are the vitamins and what are the antidotes, right? And a lot of people are taking vitamins or pursuing vitamins, but they're not really pursuing the antidote. And one of the vitamins that I feel like people are pursuing is a quest for more money, right? That is a vitamin, right? It's not the antidote, right? And I used to think that money money was the solution. I used to think money would solve all of my problems, right? I thought, the pursuit of money, having more money, everything like that was going to be like, oh yeah, when I get more money, all of my problems are going to go away.
Yeah, right.
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 I'm not going to have any challenges in life because now I have more money. I realized that I got more money and then it did not solve all of my problems. And the thing that I realized the deepest was that the opportunity in this was about really digging into where the aspects of my life where I felt stuck. I was stuck in terms of navigating previous childhood traumas. I was stuck in terms of realizing the habits that were ineffective to me. I was stuck in terms of different aspects of my life, in terms of my relationships or creating deeper intimacy. I was stuck in terms of the realization that the things that I was pursuing were not actually providing me with more joy. They were just temporary Band-Aids. It was Band-Aids, it was vitamins, but they weren't the antidote, right? Painkillers, but they weren't the antidote. And the thing that I realized that I needed to do to shift into the antidote is on an emotional level, I had to clear things. And on a personal level, I had to make my own healing, my own growth, and everything I wanted to step to in my life non-negotiable. And as soon as I made my life the pursuit of achieving a better quality of life non-negotiable, that's when my life changed. So what it is, my intention is helping people to move into a state where their evolution, where who they are in the world, where their health, where their physical health, their emotional health, all that stuff is not negotiable, right? So, so when those things become not negotiable, your life transforms.
That's astonishing and beautiful. And I'm here to stand for you, Sanyika Street, for the fact that, that's exactly who you are. And just upon meeting you, let alone upon just seeing you and upon being in the same room or the same space as you, that willingness and that commitment to humans actually getting their very best out of themselves sort of drips off you, exudes from you. And that's really what people get when they meet you. And that's something that you're never going to have the opportunity to experience because you're already you, but it's just something that all of us get to explore upon meeting you and being with you. So thank you for being exactly that. And I'm just here to, attest to that's exactly, no kidding, who you are. So I really totally appreciate that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And that reflection is really important. And actually, I'll speak into something that you just shared and one of the sort of the core components of this process of my process of evolution, because I've moved into that as I've gotten older, as I've grown, that person that you just described. One of the ways that I moved into that person that you just described is by being able to receive the person that you just described, receive the feedback from you to me, meaning receive the compliment, receive that as that praise. And before, what I used to do to praise, like many people do to praise, is they brush it off. I think, oh yeah, whatever, it's okay. I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need any of that, right? In an effort to quote unquote exert humility or hubris or whatever you want to call it. But the reality is that they are rejecting their gift. So that becomes really important. So stepping into that has just been really powerful for me, just in being able, literally, to be able to receive praise, and to go through that has been really, really profound for me.
Yeah. One thing I'm noticing, again, that maybe you're speaking to and really do have a handle on, is that in this receipt of, well, I would call it a truth, but you can call it a compliment. In the receipt of this compliment and doing so as you've done it, it actually represents grace and humility more profoundly and accurately than any sort of pseudo brushing off that people do, including myself, when people compliment us, Like there's immense amount of humility in the truth of accepting that you're a badass. And it's okay to be a badass, really. And it's okay to be somebody who's making a difference in the world. And it's okay when other people notice that you acknowledge, okay, well, I'm having an impact on the world around me. Thank you for letting me know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is. Here's the thing about it. Into that is that what you just shared is at the core level, I think, of any person's real transformation, is their ability to receive compliments or praise, which is essentially data, right? It's information that speaks to the gift that you want to be able to create in the world. And one of the challenges that people have with being able to receive praise is that they think it's just about making them be a badass, right? So it's like, for instance, if you say, hey, you're a great dude, you're up to great things in the world. And I go, oh man, I'll reject it. I can, part of me wants to, the part of me that deflates wants to reject it. The part of me that inflates wants to go, yeah, I'm a badass. I'm a bad person. I'm doing great things in the world. But the thing is that for people who are really understand the importance of that information, is that they are receiving the information in service of serving a mission that is much bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
Right. And so my job as an acorn is to grow and to be a strong oak tree, like the badass, in service of creating more acorns. My job is to create more acorns, right? That's my job. It's literally to create more acorns. It's not to just be a strong oak tree. And the thing is that people they stop at the oak tree. The ego stops at the oak tree. Ego goes, yep, I'm supposed to be an oak tree. Ego goes, yep, I'm supposed to be just to be confident and comfortable and be the perfect version of me, and be famous and be rich and be all that stuff. And that's the pursuit of money. It's like, hey, this is me. And so my thing is no. Your job is to create an oak tree, right? To create more acorns in service of making more oak trees. Your job is literally to contribute to the circle of life. And so if you are stopping at your gift, and meaning if the praise is only stopping at you, then that's the reason that you can't accept it, because you don't have a mission that's bigger than you. And so if you don't have a mission that's bigger than you, or if your mission that's bigger than you needs refinement, then the best opportunity to step into that evolution of yourself is literally by seeing what you are made of.
Exactly.
Cut the tree open, look at the rings. Let's see what you're made of. And to do that, it has to be more than an intellectual process. And again, we're a bunch of talking heads nowadays, right? Bunch of talking heads. Like, people are super smart because they got all this access to information. They got all these stats, and they got all these things, and they got all these books, and they got all this, all this stuff that's going on in the world, all these posts and all these articles that talk about all this different information, but they're not physically walking through it. When your physical process meets your intellectual process, and then you walk through yourself, that is where you realize the greatest outcome of your mission. Like, that's how you see yourself and your ability to make your best contribution. Because essentially your job is only to make more acorns.
That's beautiful. What I'm really getting in really the confidence in what you're saying, the sort of the dogmatic confidence of what you're saying, and the undeniable confidence of the truth of what you're saying, actually, it comes from this idea. We had an interview earlier today with Dr. Bo Bennett, and he talked about, that our purpose was to survive and propagate, that ultimately that's what we're here to do, that ultimately that's all we have. And what I hear you saying is essentially the same thing, that in fact, that is all we're here for. And then that can sound like a little just bit of small stuff, like, well, just hang in there and, create babies. It's like, no, not exactly. That we certainly have the necessarily urges to, simply survive. We have a baseline urge to at least survive. We have a baseline, several urges to at least propagate and carry on in those directions. But you're talking about something a little bit more profound, a little bit more, maybe a lot more profound, more purposing, more purposing of life. Like, what am I really here for? What does it really mean to be an acorn, to create a big old tree that I could just stop? My ego wants to stop there and say, look at me, big old oak tree, and not turn it back into another acorn. Is it really doing a disservice to the rest of the world at that point?
It is.
That's beautiful.
It is absolutely a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
And I know because Dr. Bo Bennett, he spoke to the idea of survive and propagate.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add one thing on there because I get completely where he's coming from in terms of that. Survive, right? To become the oak tree and then to create more acorns. My thought process is that when you have children, like, what kind of life do you want for your children? Just out of curiosity, like, what's the life?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Are you asking me? Or okay.
What's the life?
So, it's funny that you asked this, I don't think so. Sanyika doesn't know that tomorrow morning I'm flying to Texas to be with both of my children for the first time together, the three of us, in over 10 years.
Wow.
So that's really what's happening. And it's happening tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to Austin, Texas, and I'm going to be with my daughter for the day, and be with my son and daughter for the night, and then with both of them on Sunday, because Sunday is my 62nd birthday. So I've had to ask myself these questions. I've found myself asking these questions, like, really, what kind of life do I want for my kids? Like, what have I done, and what is there still to do, such that I can, continue to be a contribution or make some kind of impact in my relationship with my children's experience in life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think what I have here, at least the easy answer to this, and Sanyika sometimes trips up my easy answer. I should tell our listeners that sometimes I give the easy answer and you like you're waiting for it and then you build on it. So we're going to give this one a try, which is, I want my children's life to be more impactful and better than my life was. I want them to learn from standing on my shoulders and from my mistakes, to make decisions in life that actually work to give them greater empowerment, usefulness, purpose, and joy in the life that awaits them. Something like that is what I would say.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
And I completely understand and agree with that and receive it. And I think there are a lot of people that would agree and understand and agree with that. And here's another thing that I'll offer. You want your kids to have a better life than you, right?
Yeah.
In the spirit of embodiment, like embodying a message, right? That means that meaning that you are the physical representation of what it is that you teach. How can I teach my kids to have a life that's better than me if all I am looking to do is survive?
Ain't that the truth?
It is impossible. I can't teach my kids how to thrive if I'm not thriving. I don't want to survive. I want to thrive. Because I can't teach them how to thrive if I am not thriving.
Right.
I can't teach them how to live magnificently if I am not living magnificently. I can't teach them how to navigate and be creative and resilient if I am not doing the same in my life. And so then the opportunity goes, well, who's the me that I want to step into, right? Fred, there's a version of me 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. That is everything that I want to be, right? That human being is like, who do I want to be in that 3 months? I want to be this. I want to be in great shape. I want to, have, more money. I want to, have, greater impact. I want to have all those things, right? Money not being a primary driver, but one of the things that I want to incorporate into my existence. But the idea is that person is living a life that I want to go to. And so to meet that human being, I need to make my choices, my daily living, the way that I move through the world, absolutely non-negotiable. I can't negotiate with the future version of myself that I'm trying to like the version of me that 3 months from now that's living the life that's exactly who I want to be. Like, he's showing me the roadmap. He's saying, take these steps, do these things, change your diet, change the way that you move through food, change the way that you move through fitness, change the way that you move through relationships, change the way that you move through what how you are learning on a daily basis. Like, that is what the future me is asking me to do. And he's saying, and I'm not going to negotiate with that version of myself. I'm not going to negotiate with that. That's the human being I want to become. So if that's the case, I will adhere to exactly what that person is requesting, because that is the human being I want to, and that's exactly what I want to teach my kids how to do. Non-negotiable,
Exactly.
how to thrive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of course, that hits home. It's very inspiring. And then, you and I have had conversations along these lines, and even as recently as last week around these lines. So I'm on with Sanyika Street, my good friend and colleague, and just a human among humans who's just making a difference and really getting right now today, how to make my life and how to make the lives of people around me more useful, more purposeful, more thriving, more magnificent. And that's what we're talking about today. So Sanyika's been kind and open enough to really share some of the things that really matter to him. Sanyika, some of the things you're talking about are so bold. They appear to be so bold, and the little self in me is like, you know what? I think I do want to negotiate with that guy. I hear you about non-negotiating, but actually, I just want to cut some deals. I want to wake up a little later, maybe exercise only 3 times a week. And every so often, I want to eat some ice cream. And you know what? If my relationships, screw my relationships, actually. If they don't work, there's more relationships on the internet. There's more relationships out there. There's plenty of people who are lonely. I can go get another one if it doesn't work. And I think I should be able to negotiate some of those factors with this person, this bold person who represents the magnificence of who I want to be if I want to actually create acorns from this acorn. Mm-hmm. What do I say to this little guy who really needs to negotiate? Like I don't want to lose him in this process.
What do you say to the little, because that is the voice of the inner critic, right? That's the inner critic. That's the limited you. Mm-hmm. Right. So I can definitely see that, because that person is saying, I don't want to add more things. Right.
I don't
want to add more things.
Right.
Right. They're saying,
no, I'm good. I think it's the first cousin to the guy who's really interested in being really happy with himself about being an oak tree. Actually, I think they're exactly related to each other.
Yeah, I definitely think they're definitely on the same family tree, pun intended, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
so what do we do? What do we do here? So let's say, okay, no, really, I got it. There's something drawing me. I'm committed to that's way bigger than me. Okay, and that's actually true in my life, Sanyika, and it's true in your life too. Like we are lucky enough, both of us, and a handful of people that seems to be growing, who are really finding out that they're committed to things. They're really finding where in life they're committed to something that is actually bigger than them. There's really no more beautiful find than something that you can be used by that is actually bigger than you, that you might even, take a hand grenade for, or, throw yourself at with all risk intended, and, really have it be that's what you are committing your life to. So in the world of being driven or led or used by something bigger than myself, it's not simple, right? It's not simple. Like it's a new commitment at that level to decide that I want to go past the oak tree into creating a beautiful acorn, or what do you suggest, or what do you have in mind, or what are you doing along those lines that are not just conceptual, but are, on the ground? We can expect you to be a man who's been on the ground. What are you doing to make a difference in that area in the world around you?
I think that if I was talking about this from a place of talking about this level of commitment, this level of stepping in from a place of this is the human being I've always been in every aspect of my life, then I don't think people would necessarily be able to get it. But I know what it's like to be not committed to anything. I used to think commitment was a prison. I thought commitment was prison. I thought living in a regimented aspect of your life was restriction. I thought that honoring your word to yourself was flexible, and I thought, even on a deeper, more profound basis, I disassociated my relationship with any level of future. Like, I'll give you an example. One of the questions I've been asking a lot of people as we've been digging into really the value associated with these programs that we've been creating has been, what are you most excited about creating in the next year? Right? Like just for you, Fred, like what are you most excited about creating in the next year?
Wow. Most excited. If I have to pick one thing, I would say it's the integration of who I am as a person into who I am as a business and who I am in my relationship, so that I don't have to remember which role I'm in ever. Like, who I am as a person is totally consistent with who I am in my relationships, and which is continues to be totally consistent with who I am in my sustainable business models.
Got it.
Something like that.
Got it. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that I was counting when you, from the point that I stopped asking the question to the point that you started asking the question, answering your question. And the reason is because you are deeply connected to who you want to be in the world. Right. I was at the grocery store the other day talking to a guy at Trader Joe's, and I asked him the same question, and he goes, I'm not sure. He said, what are you excited about creating in the next year? I said, I want to create the deepest, most invincible level of personal accountability that has ever existed on the planet. That is my personal objective. There's business objectives and relationship objectives too, but which one you want? His response after that was, wow, I don't trust myself. Right? He has given up on his future in that moment. He may have an idea about it. He could have been, caught or whatever. But the idea is that he's not living with it like he could pull out his cell phone in an instant and know what his passcode is to his social media. But if you can't pull out the greatest sword that you will ever have, which is a vision of your future, a powerful, inspiring vision of your future, and be moving towards that on a daily basis, then that means that you are actually not living. You are actually not living. And there are tons of people actually not living. And I used to be the Pied Piper of them.
Yeah.
I was the guy leading the charge of not living because I know what my future looked like. People ask, they say when a woman asks you, what your 5-year plan is, you can project it. And I used to reject it, the idea of being in that space, of rejecting what it looks like to have a plan. And it's not just necessarily just having a plan, but a vision of who I want to become. And a lot of people don't have it. And so I'm speaking to the people who are looking to create a deeper definition around who that person is that they want to be. And if they have an inkling of who it is, or an idea of who it is, or they got a clue, or just something in them that says, I'm up to something bigger in the world, I need to step in and I'm your guy. Like, I'm your guy. I'm that dude who can help you to meet that vision that you are. Like, I'm not going to let you to get away with not having a vision of the future that you want to be moving to, because the idea is that you need to have a vision of the future because it informs the action steps that you take right now. The steps that you take now are in service of that future. That's what I'm looking at. So speaking to that person, the person who doesn't have a vision of the future, the inner critic that you just said, who's like, I want to negotiate with myself. I'm saying that, who do you want to be in 3 months?
You're right.
Where do you want to be in 6 months? Like, literally, personally, like on a personal level. How's your health? How are your relationships? What are you reading? What do you need to learn in life? What's that look like? And if there's something there for you, if that's a playground for you, an area where you want to test, see what you're made of, I'm your guy.
You are that guy. It's true. More than anyone I've ever met, Sanyika Street, you really are that guy. And I really get that. And, to me, I sometimes honor myself for even willingness to hang in the language that you play in. And the reason what I'm saying here, there's a bit of humor that's intended, but at the same time, there's something like, if one can hang in this language, you're on the very front edge, at least as the way I see it, the very front edge of what it means to actually live not only a joyous life, but a life that matters, a life that brings contribution, a life maybe of service, a life of really, delivering not only beauty, joy, happiness, and truth to your own way of being, but as a result of doing that, bringing it to the people around you almost effortlessly. I mean, that's what I see with you, is that I know it probably comes with ongoing minute by minute effort at some level, but there's something about really it oozing out of you and you just representing that has being with you and being with you as an obvious stand for what you're describing here today, be inspiring just by being in the space. So again, we're back to that, but I really want, my listeners to get that if you're feeling moved or uneasy, if there's something that Sanyika's saying, you're going, yeah, that's good for him, but not for me. Or, hey, I'm like Fred, I want to negotiate with him. I want to wake up late and eat junk and have relationships that don't work, which, by the way, isn't how I roll, but I'm only bringing that up for the, for the purpose of our
right.
sort of how I roll. Sometimes it is how I roll, but that's a whole different podcast. We'll talk about that in a different podcast. There's an opportunity here, Sanyika, for you to get that. I'm ready to ask you. Yeah, you think you're the man, Sanyika? What makes you the man? And then I realized, well, you know what? One of the ways that you're the man is just by being you. Like you be you, and you let that oak tree go to acorn. And there's something like, oh yeah, just by being you and being non-negotiating with that big self of yours. Has an impact on the people around you. You're right. You're not going to let us get away with living lives that don't work or living lives that don't matter or living lives that are inconsistent with what's important to us. That's just not how it is to be around Sanyika Street. I mean, that just doesn't work to be around Sanyika Street and be that person.
Well, again, greatly received. And it is back to the inner critic, the limited version of self, the whomever, right? That whoever that person is that says, yeah, this is language that's on the edge. This is triggering me, right? Right. Every time I've gone out for any kind of goal, I've had a bad relationship with it. I failed every single time, right? That's where I used to be, dude. Like, not in that capacity, not that I thought every time I would fail, but with a deep fear of rejection, especially from myself, deep fear of rejection from myself. So I was like running from the future, from any vision of what I could possibly achieve. Because I was just like, oh yeah, it's a possibility I may not do it, and I don't know the steps. How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? Because that's the place everybody gets caught, is that we have all these, these visions of what we want to create, but we don't know the steps. And so that the way that I see this is like this, man. It's like the entrance to a tunnel. So follow me on this.
Okay.
You walk up to a tunnel. You're outside of the tunnel, right? Behind you is all the baggage that you brought with you in your life. Everything. All of your demons, all of the trauma, all of the hurt, all of the pain, all of the stuff.
That's a moving van there, Sanyika. That's a lot of stuff.
Right. It's a U-Haul truck, right?
Yeah.
Or an 18-wheeler, depending on how much stuff you've gone through. It's a lot of stuff. In front of you is a tunnel. Through the tunnel, you see a light, right? And so you have a choice in your life. As you look in the tunnel, you look behind you. And then when you look up, you see everything. You see the sky, you see the trees, you see the birds, you see the stuff, you hear the noise, you hear all the stuff. And that's the noise. Above you is the noise. That's your position in life. That's where we're standing, literally. The noise represents all of the different stuff going on in the world, all the different options, the different approaches. It's like, if you want to lose weight, yeah, I can do this calorie counting thing. I can do this Weight Watchers thing. I can do this thing. I can do this, like all this stuff, right? Because people think they need the thing, like the money, like I need the thing because the thing is going to fix me. Right. So they go, yeah, I need if it's a weight loss thing, it's like, I got this weight loss program or this calorie counting thing or whatever like that. If it's a muscle thing, okay, I got this gym membership and I got this fitness routine. And I got this personal training. And I go, all this stuff right there. I got all the noise. If it's about fixing relationships, well, I got this, therapist and I got this, and I got all these things. And I'm saying, before you need any of the roadmaps, you have to make a non-negotiable decision to step into the tunnel. Forget everything else first. Forget it. You need to get in the tunnel. Once you get into the tunnel, you have two choices. Go back to the 18-wheeler of all this stuff. Go back to the noise, which is paralyzing you by analyzing it. Paralysis by analysis. Or step into the tunnel, face off with your greatest demon. And your greatest demon is only the perception that there is a demon. It is the monster under the bed. It's the monster in the closet. The only demon is your perception. And then the beauty of when you step in the tunnel, what kind of vision do you get when you step in the tunnel? Tunnel vision. You get focused. And then what happens when you move through the tunnel? You face off with your perceptions. You take the steps. Any program that's about, helping people navigate through stuff has steps. AA, right? 12 steps, all that kind of stuff. You just take the steps. Yeah, you will see what comes up because you are breaking habits. You are breaking ancestral lineage. You are not just breaking habits from yourself. You're breaking habits from 2 generations ago. Becoming a new version of yourself as you move through this. And then the beauty of it is that when you step in the tunnel, you get tunnel vision, you face off with your perception, not a monster. And there's a light at the other end of the tunnel.
Right.
People have walked through it before. They've done it. They have achieved this outcome. That's the vision of you. 1 day from now, 1 month from now, 3 months from now, 1 year from now, 5 years from now, that light at the end of the tunnel is the person that you are looking to be. And the realization is this: that light from the end of the tunnel is splashing on you right now, because actually that is you. It's not just the vision of you. You are that vision of you right now. I'm just trying to help you meet each other.
I got it. Here's the thing. I'm sure I speak for every listener, are completely moved. We're in some ways it's staring down this tunnel with a light at the end that's really me, presents some problems. And I think the problems that we're talking about is solved with this word you've now used 3 or 4 times, this word non-negotiable. And I really want to hear a little bit more about that. What would seriously, what do I have to give up to make this thing non-negotiable? Like what do say my listeners like, yeah, I want a life that works. I actually want to be closer to me than I've been being. Or what does non-negotiable really mean, Sanyika?
Great question. Let's get out of the esoteric of it right now, right? Let's get out of the esoteric. Yeah. Let's talk like brass tacks. So, information fatigue syndrome is a real thing. Paralysis by analysis is a real thing. Like, these are real things that are invading how we move through the world. Everybody is fighting for your attention. I got a piece called, a spoken word piece called the War for Your Attention. Everybody's fighting for your attention. So to that point, you said, well, how is it, when I'm, I don't really know how to be able to move and to do what it is that you're talking about doing, because I already got too many things. Right? I got too many things. And that is the issue. It is the overload of information, is that you got too many things. People, and then they come into this program, they go, well, I don't really want to add more things. I don't want to add more things. Right. We're just talking straight brass tacks. And then my question becomes, are your things working?
Right.
Are your things working? Because if your things are not working, you don't need to add more things. You need to replace your things. So it's shifting into new states of being and into different activities. We're breaking habits, Fred. We're breaking habits. For instance, if you realize that your approach to food can use some cultivation,
you could.
Right. And it's like, let's use some cultivation. All right, cool. Great. So let's do this. Let's give you the framework so that you can eat whatever it is that you want and just choose to remove 4 things from your diet: gluten, alcohol, sugar, dairy. 75% of the world's population does not have the ability to process dairy. The world, not America, not Africa, the world. Right. That's one. Alcohol is alcohol, right? Right. Sugar is the devil. It's in everything. And actually, sugar was one of the perpetrators of the slave trade. Sugar was the commodity that was being sold in service of the transatlantic slave trade. I went to the African American History Museum in Washington, D.C., and the very first thing on the bottom floor is they show you that the commodity they were trading was sugar.
Wow.
It's crazy, right? And now it's in everything, and we're still slaves to it. So sugar, and then gluten. right? So gluten is an opportunity, but grains are an opportunity as well. And so there's gluten and there's grains. And the idea is that if you can remove those things, because most people don't even realize whether or not they have a gluten intolerance or they have a gluten, any aspect or allergy to it. And so if you can step away from it for a period of time, and then if you want to reincorporate it, cool. But the idea is about removing those things from your diet and seeing how your body responds. I have a feeling that your body will wake up a little bit. Because if you remove those things from your diet, then what are you eating? Pretty much the healthiest stuff on the planet. Whole foods. Right? Mm-hmm. Whole foods. Non-processed foods. Mm-hmm. Now you're in a space where your food. And the other part about food is that the same way that you grab your phone, right? It's like a dopamine hit. And so it's the same thing with food. Dopamine hit. Mm-hmm. I grab a sandwich the same way I grab my phone. It is to remove the desire to feel. Mm. So if I can step into a space where I'm, again, straight brass tacks, if I remove the food that I'm not eating and I can be with my emotions and myself, then maybe I can start to navigate through other aspects of my life as opposed to avoiding everything like I do when I go on social media and everything like that. That's just that's one action step, like a thing to do. Removing those things from your diet.
Right. I think your program, what do you call it? You call it the Empire Method. Am I right about that?
At the present moment, we've been the name that we have been exploring is Project Future You, presented by the Empire Method, which is our company.
Okay. So there's something that you're delivering this. You're kind of making this claim, and you're making this. I guess there's a promise embedded here, and there's also at least the promise to a discovery. I think that's fair to say that by taking on life at the next level, by making the future self or the pursuit of my greatest future self non-negotiable. We're taking on things that otherwise we might not do. I'm good. Thanks. I'm going to go be on Instagram for a while and eat myself a couple sandwiches. Right. I'm good. Mm-hmm. And let me know how it goes. Give me a call tomorrow. Let me know, or maybe the next day, and let me know how things are going in your world. And that's really how so much of the world is walking through life right now. Mm-hmm. It really is. And now those are the healthy ones, Sanyika. Those are the ones who are actually, being perceived as being, having it going on, basically. If you're really good on Instagram and you can eat a sandwich or two, as well as, and tip a few a few times a night. A few times a week, hang out at the sports bar, eat a half a pizza. These are the, look, that's like a status quo that is not only acceptable, it's kind of endorsed, and it's, in some ways cherished or even almost praised inside our present society. But we're really looking at something that I think all of us know about. And I think that's the trigger you're tripping here, Sanyika. Is that light at the end of the tunnel is in all of us. There is a purpose why we're here on the planet. And there's something that's really drawing us forward to what do you want to do for your kids, maybe? Or, if you draw the question large enough, I think what I hear you saying is that there is something out there for all of us, but certainly for a few of us, that is large enough for us to really make a non-negotiable decision to alter our lifestyle in order to actually become an acorn again, in order to actually create future acorns, I should say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'll offer another layer on top of that, because I think you're speaking the language of we're speaking the same language, and this is exactly what I want to be about and want to help people to move into. I was shopping at Trader Joe's and I ran into two people. And one of those people is a good friend of our extended network. And that one of those people had an open mug, like, of alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Drinking, yeah, right. Hey, good times. And I love her as a person, like, great human being. Everything is dope, but just had an open mug of booze. And it's so funny, man, because, like, you can look in somebody's eyes and you can see what their soul is craving.
Yeah,
you can. At least that's a gift that I've been given, and I've been given that gift, and I saw what she was craving. Like, I saw her wanting to live to be in touch with who she is as a person.
Yeah.
And to be happy. And her friend, it was like a TV show, man. They were laughing at me because they know I'm plant-based, and they were just like laughing. They were like, how's that, they were going out and getting, I think, like shrimp or something like that. And they were like, yeah, how's that vegan shrimp going for you? Or something like that. It's like like one of those, high school things or whatever like that. And I know a lot of people experience that. They have people in their universe that are executing behaviors that are not about growth, right? Mm-hmm. But your soul is begging you. It's begging you to get out of that space. It's begging you. It's like, please. And here's the thing that I realized about leadership, and I'll say this about is that sometimes leadership is again, saving ourselves. And we think that, sometimes our responsibility is to save the world. And I stopped thinking that a long time ago. That is an esoteric description that some people have, move into it and inspire some people. And I've gotten out of that business. I ain't in the business of saving the world. The world ain't going nowhere. Right? The world is going to be here after I'm gone, after we gone, after everybody's gone. It's going to be here. But the thing that I have realized is that my mission is to achieve my highest level of contribution. And I realized that by embodying the behaviors, becoming the physical representation of my message, walking the walk, talking the talk, doing what I say I do, that by virtue of that, I ain't got to save the world. I can actually heal the people that are around me. Mm-hmm. And so if I can save the person in the mirror, in service of saving the person that sleeps next to me, in service of saving the kid that's in the other room, in service of saving the people that hang out at my house who don't realize their own greatness. But if I can save them, if I can embody the behavior and not preach, there's a quote that says, "I'm always preach the gospel and speak when necessary." Mm-hmm. I don't preach. I mean, we talking on the audio, so maybe a little bit of preaching. But I promise you, when I walk in the room, I ain't convincing nobody to do nothing. That's not my business. Mm-hmm. If you want to move into the greatest version of yourself and you see that through me, let's rap. But if that ain't your move, I ain't convincing you to do nothing. Mm-hmm. That's not my business. Mm-hmm. My business is not convincing you to step into the greatest version of you. My belief is that the greatest accountability partner you will ever have is you 3 months from now. And if that person can't convince you to step into the greatest version of you, then that means I still hold space for your transformation. Mm-hmm. I will hold space for your transformation, meaning that I will be around when you are ready, but I ain't going to convince you. And if the future you can't convince you, then I ain't going to do nothing.
Right. You don't have a higher rank than the future.
I don't yes. I don't have no higher rank than you 3 months from now. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. People they go, I want this, they say, I'm from a coaching perspective, they go, well, how do you want to be coached? And they go, I want you to tell it to me like it is. I'm like, no, I ain't gonna tell. Look, no, whoever that person is, we're going to get clear on who that person is that you say you want to become. And then that person is going to tell you like it is. All I'm going to be doing is communicating what they're trying to translate. Mm-hmm. This ain't my journey, it's your journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, so we're on with Sanyika Street. Sanyika is just an awesome dude, a totally great friend of mine, over the last couple of years who's just grown and developed. It's hard to believe that a 6'8" dude can grow and develop even more, but that's exactly what's happening each and every day and each and every week. If you already know about Sanyika and you follow him, you already know that what I'm saying is nothing less than the truth. And if you don't know him, this is a man who's just deeply committed to making a difference in the world with everybody he runs into. And, just an open-hearted, brilliant man of words and of commitment and of action. And I can't even speak to how honored I am to have Sanyika here with us as a guest on our podcast. So Sanyika, I just want to say one more thing, which is, I had this talk with our production manager, Ryan Levesque, who's in the back of this conversation as well, and a friend of both of ours. And I had a talk with him earlier today about this idea of going to the top of a cliff, like, I want to go cliff diving. That's what I want to do. I'm going to go cliff diving. And then I go to a top of a cliff, we go up the ladders, you serve up the ladder, and I go to the top of some 200-meter cliff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's right. That's what I said I was going to do. I'm a badass. I do cliff diving. And then there's something like, looking over the edge and going, I don't know. I don't know about, there's like some sort of safety or perceived safety in my familiar lifestyle, that I don't know what the hell I was saying. I don't want to do any cliff diving. I was kidding. And so when I turn around, I realize that the ladder's been pulled away. Because I have now made a non-negotiable commitment to jump off that cliff. And now I'm in a funky state because now I'm terrified. Now I'm like, okay, and there's just no ladder. And what's so interesting, and this is true in my life, is that I have set this up perfectly, or my life, the universe has set this up that of course I'm going to be okay jumping off this cliff. And there's like all the people and all the circumstances and all the safety nets and all the everything that has it be that upon jumping off the cliff, I actually get my life. That's the reward for jumping off this cliff. I get my life. That's it. That's the reward. It's not just like a notch in my cliff jumping belt. It's like I really get my life by jumping off this cliff. So
straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Right. And so what do we do? Again, I think I'm probably speaking for, like, there's a real fear up there. It's a real fear, not that fear has any real source of reality. It's just that the damn thing is terrifying. Like if I actually step into being my real self, well, that'll mean that I don't get to not be my real self when I choose to be that, or some sort of freaking nonsense that looks like that, right? Like then I won't be able to be a lazy ass kind of bum when I want to be. It's not really true, of course. I can be a lazy ass bum anytime I want, even after finding my real self. And maybe that's part of being a real self, is to actually have access to my lazy bum when and if I need it, or when and if I want it. I imagine that you being the embodiment of this notion for all the people that you speak towards and speak so eloquently towards, that you've done this for yourself, that this is a huge part of who you are, standing here today, or is that right?
Absolutely.
Right. What have you noticed in your own self? What are some of your own personal gains, accomplishments, achievements in the last 60, 90, 180, 1 year, 2 year, increment? Duration. What kind of things have you noticed?
Tangibly?
Okay.
You know what?
Whatever.
Sure.
Works.
I want to say this, and I want to make sure that it is received in a very intentional way. The greatest things that I have achieved over the past 60, 90 days, 1 year, have been human attributes, right? Consistency, clarity, focus, resilience, discipline, honor, integrity. Those have been my greatest achievements in the real 3D world. Let me explain to you a few side effects, right? Side effect, I lost 35 pounds. Side effect, I've read more books in the past 6 months than I've ever read in my life. Side effect, my sex life with my partner has increased. Side effect, I've decreased my blood pressure. Side effect, human attributes are the primary. Side effects are those things that you can put on paper and people go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Those are side effects. You know why?
Right.
Because the scalable aspect of it is the human attribute. The character traits. That's the scalable part. The human being that I have become as a result. Side effect is like, that's the problem with the weight loss thing. That's the problem with the food thing. That's the problem with the gym, the strength thing. That's the problem with the stuff, is that those things are the things, right? It's the vitamin. It's the temporary. It's the Band-Aid. It's not the solution. The human attribute is the solution. And if somebody listening to this goes, man, please, Get out of here. Like, I'm just trying to lose weight. I'm just trying to make more money. I'm just trying to get this. I'm just trying to get mine. I'm just trying to do that. And I'm like, that's the attitude. That's the problem. That's exactly what I am doing this for, is to be against that attitude. Because that's the limited version of you. I'm so much bigger than fucking money. As a human, I'm 6'8". I weigh 260 pounds. But the way that I approach life is huge. It's bigger than small things like money. The future me doesn't need money because they have money. So I took money off the table. Mm-hmm. I don't need no money because I have it. Mm-hmm. It's there. It's present. So if money's not on the table, then what is? Mm-hmm. Who I am.
Beautiful. What we're talking about here is really just altering humanity from a fundamental level. And we're not really talking about the humanity of others. We're talking about our own personal humanity. And what we're really talking about is what we're willing to settle for versus what we're able to become. And not only able to become, but then committing to become, and not only committing to become, Sanyika, I'm hearing you say over and over again, just a non-negotiable commitment to becoming that person, to heading into that. And that's just extraordinary. Beautiful. Super awesome. Well,
appreciate that.
I'm here with Sanyika Street. What's that, Sanyika?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'm here with Sanyika, my good friend Sanyika. And, before we close, we could talk, Sanyika and I talk frequently, so we could keep talking and we could talk for hours and hours. And I'm sure we'll be on another broadcast together. I think you've made your mission pretty clear to us, what you're doing these days, what you're doing for yourself, what you're doing for your lovely partner, what you're doing for Elijah, what you're doing for the world around you, how you're getting it done, what you stand for, and all the things that are important to you, as well as your humanity and your own personal kindness that just comes through the podcast airwaves as well. And so what's the future hold for Sanyika Street? What, in fact, if you could give us sort of a thumbnail, what does Sanyika Street look like 1 year from now? And on top of that, what does Sanyika Street look like 5 years from now? Can you give us a little taste of what that is?
I love that question, because the me 1 year from now is a person that is in a deep state of gratitude. In a deep state of gratitude for my accomplishments in terms of providing a deeper impact through this work that I do, in terms of creating more intimacy in all of my relationships, not just my relationship with my girlfriend and partner, but deeper, intimate relationships with her son, Elijah, and with the people that I work with, deeper versus wider, right? So, and just on a business level, for those people who are business oriented, that means customer experience, right? So customer experience oriented. And from that perspective, so it means a deeper impact. It means more celebration, right? More celebrating myself. It means more celebrating the people that are around me. And really honoring the fact that I stepped into this environment, this human being that I want to be and show up as. So that's really important. And then in 5 years, my intention is to grow this type of living, like living in the greatest version of yourself, but literally being able to do it on a more than an intellectual basis, but on a physical basis too, into a platform that impacts people and that really helps to shape how people move through the world in a better way. And so, so I see this growing from a movement of hundreds to a movement of hundreds of thousands. I see this as an opportunity to expand in creating more acorns and loving myself and appreciating my own personal growth every drop of the way.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We've been on with Sanyika Street, my good friend Sanyika Street, my mentor, my teacher, my friend, just a man among men. And it's just been a blast. What a great conversation. We've learned a lot about what makes Sanyika run, what makes Sanyika move, what are the kind of things that are important to him. And I think if you share with me, listeners, you can see that almost all those things, if not all of them, really resonate with what it means to be a human being, to be a useful, strong human being in our present, pretty confusing world at times. So thanks for being here, Sanyika. It's been a deep pleasure. We'll talk soon. I look forward to our next podcast and our next conversation, which should take place in the next day or two anyways, if we stay on pattern.
Thank you, Fred.
And really love you. Really, really fabulous. You're welcome, Sanyika. It's super cool to have you on our show, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you, man. I just want to say thank you to you and really honor you for stepping in. And I love how you threw the ladder off the cliff when you created this podcast. You were like, I'm going to bring this thing to life. And this is your vision. And this was your commitment. And this is you celebrating you. And I really deeply, deeply want to honor you for that and say congratulations, and appreciate your level of commitment and Ryan's and the team stepping up and to make this thing a reality. It's really beautiful to see. And to everyone who listened, for everyone who offered, who was inspired or moved or curious to any degree, I appreciate your presence and the future you awaits.
All right. And Sanyika, how can they get a hold of you? I'm glad we get to throw that in here at the end. It's real important. If anyone wants to follow Sanyika or become part of whatever you're up to, or at least, learn from you, or maybe even join you in any kind of projects or directions you're going, how can somebody find Sanyika? You
can go to @Firestarter Live on Instagram, or you can go to, you can direct message me on Facebook, Sanyika the Firestarter Street, or you can hit me on Facebook, you can hit me on Instagram, or you can email me at sanyika@firestarterlive.com.
All right. Awesome. SANYIKA at firestarter.com. Am I right about that?
Yep. SANYIKA at firestarterlive.com.
At firestarterlive.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Sanyika, we'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks again.
Thank you, Fred.
Beautiful conversation. You're welcome. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hey, welcome to Humanity listeners. Thank you for listening and tuning in today. Something I really adore, I really love about Sanyika Street. He's such a big man. And I mean that in so many ways. He's 6'8", he's 260 pounds. He appears to be potentially imposing, but really he's just a lovely, awesome human being. And doesn't he have a lot to say? He's really brilliant, and he's really a stand for moving all of us forward. So I really, really adored talking to him. It was really great to share him with you. Maybe while you were listening, you were thinking, I know some people who would really love to hear this episode. So now would be a really good time to reach out to them and invite them to listen and to subscribe to the Welcome to Humanity podcast. When it comes to subscribing, I'd like to ask you a favor as well. Could you just take a minute and hit the subscribe button on your podcast player? Because that way you'll get the latest episodes as they become available. And if you really appreciate what we're doing here, could you just take a few minutes and put together a review for Apple Podcasts? Me and my listeners would really appreciate it, because subscribes and reviews are the two major ways we reach even more listeners with the Welcome to Humanity podcast. So if the conversations we're having here are moving you in any way, please pay it forward. Go ahead, subscribe, leave a review. We'd all truly appreciate it. To catch up with past episodes, head on over to welcometohumanity.net/podcast. So until next time, this is Dr. Fred. This has been another wonderful edition of the Welcome to Humanity podcast, and I thank you for joining us. Have a beautiful day. I love you all. Be good, be safe. Bye for now.